So here I want to speak about the product and the technology. Uh, until now, we spoke about the idea. Then after the idea, we had some pre-validation steps. We looked at the elevator pitch, how to deal with advisors, how to do market research, and how to define the problem and solution. And now we're about to speak about the product and the technology. Okay, so product and technology. How do I start, especially if I'm not a technical co-founder? How can I get some intellectual property IP in that space? So I want to mention that in this series, the Startup Foundation, we're not going to develop the product. The whole point of this series that we're actually going to validate what we're going to do without having the product. And this is where the idea is becoming quite interesting. So you don't need to have technical skills, but you need to build some kind of intellectual property around the product and the technology. Otherwise, nobody would want to listen to what you have to say and to offer, and investors or other co-founders. Okay, so we are going to build some kind of intellectual property around the product and the technology without building the product itself. How come? How it's going to work? I will explain in a minute, okay? So the first thing that we're going to start with is to design some kind of a basic user workflow. It's called wireframes in the professional language. A wireframe looks like, if you look at the screenshot or whatever, which I took actually from Wikipedia. You can have a look at the Wikipedia article, it's quite good. A wireframe is basically some kind of a skeleton which you can do in any word processor. Okay? It's basically showing which elements we're going to have in our product and how the flow, how the user is going to flow when the user is going to use our product. I strongly recommend you against the industry moods to use a word processor, something simple, keep it simple and stupid, and don't invest in a no-code system. Just yesterday I heard about a startup company in Sydney which invested a lot of time and effort in a no-code system, and once they had 10 users, basically the whole system collapsed. Okay, the no-code systems are not built to serve clients. You can do your wireframe on a no-code, but then it's like it's a killer, It's like too much for something which is supposed to be quite simple. So the first stage is to develop a keep it simple, stupid wireframe. The next stage, you need to show that you understand how data flows in your system. This is a really important part. Data is the core of every computer system, and not the front end, what you see. Okay, the way data flows, which data you're capturing, which functions the data is doing, how you're going to deal with redundancy and backups, because if you have your data, you want to protect it. What are the relationships between entities in your system? For example, users and passwords, or users and accounts, users and products, okay, users and orders and products. How those relationships go? And you need to understand those things even if you're not a tech co-founder. The next thing is the data security and privacy. Are you going to encrypt some things? Are you not going to encrypt? Are you going to hash them or not? Those are things that you need to be familiar with because you would be asked about those things. Are there any unique identifier for users? What are they? Email and ID and email, any government ID, like a passport number or whatever. What are the user roles? What are users are doing in your system, and what are the permission which each user is getting? For example, administrator. What administrator can do? Look at users, update users. Can administrator read user messages? That's a really good question, okay? Which relates also to privacy. Can administrator cancel orders? Or is it only the user that can cancel orders? All those things, you need to be able to define basically what you want to do. Another aspect of the data model is basically how you're going to separate between data entities. Are you going to use multi-tenancy or one database? How it's going to look? Okay, all those things are valid actually also if you're a smart guy or girl to Excel. Okay, to anything which is holding data. How are you going to scale your data? Is it going to be partitioned? And any rules of data validation. The user is being asked for a password. How this password is looking. The user is ask for a name. Is it a full name, a private name? All those things needs to be defined. Then, after you define the data model, you need to be able to sketch some kind of a high-level architecture. Architecture is a map of all the software elements, okay, and how those things are linked between one another and how data is flowing between them. Now I want to refer you to a couple of the videos which I did about architecture. Be careful with that, okay? If I see in an architecture the word AWS or Azure or whatever, I sort of understand that this architecture was not done properly, because architecture is done in the high level. It's not relating to specific vendors or to specific products. If you're relating to specific products, something is wrong there. You're either too early to define things which should be defined by the CTO, or you just don't understand what you're doing, excuse me. Then you're taking all what you have done so far, and you're going to someone which is an experienced CTO, an advisor, which we discussed before, and you get feedback. You ask for feedback. Most likely you will get a lot of feedback and a lot of criticism. So this is a process. You need to do this whole process several times. It's basically several rounds. It's not something that you're going to just do and it's going to finish. Okay, so you're getting feedback, you're refining it, and the end of it is some kind of a really nice document, which is tidy document, which is describing all what we have spoken about in this module. Okay, once you have this, remember, now, if you have this, you have quite a bit of intellectual property in your company. You know, you understand your market, you understand the problem and the solution. You have some kind of a high level of understanding of your product. You have some kind of an architecture. You have an elevator pitch. Okay, so all those things actually building your startup even before you have a product or client. It's building your intellectual property. In the next module, we'll speak about pricing and business model. And I want to remind you that the slides of those videos are published in my Telegram channel. Please subscribe to this channel and attend the Telegram channel. See you later.